Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Thursday, August 24th, 2023. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network from Chicago O'Hare Airport. Folks, it is the day when Donald Trump is turning himself in to authorities in Atlanta. We will have a live shot of that. It's supposed to be happening while we're live during the show, so we will go to that when he arrives with his motorcade. Several other defendants who have been indicted with him turned themselves in. One of the black folks of Black Voices for Trump, he was so dumb he didn't negotiate a bond deal. He is still sitting in his jail. Maybe he's trying to become a martyr. Congressman Jim Jordan, he is demanding an investigation into DA Fani Willis over her indictment of Donald Trump. I'm sorry, you don't have jurisdiction over a local DA. Nice try, Jim Jordan. More efforts by Trump's defenders to protect him from prosecution. Folks, a Texas showdown in the classroom. The controversial right-wing PregerU, what are they doing? Well, guess what? They say they are working with the state of Texas to create a new curriculum. Well, Texas says not yet. A Texas State Board of Education member will be joining us to talk about what's happening there with this right-wing site. Also, Oklahoma's largest school district is on the verge of losing its accreditation. Tulsa superintendent steps down in what some call an anti-woke battle with the state superintendent, Ryan Walters. Just crazy nonsense happening there in Oklahoma. And North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper vetoes a voter suppression bill Republicans passed. Now, here's the problem. They have the votes to actually overturn it because they have a supermajority. We'll show you what he had to say as well. Folks, it is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the best, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the fine. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Folks, this right here is a live shot of the Fulton County Jail where authorities there are preparing to accept Donald Trump to turn himself in, to have him to be processed, to have his mugshot taken after he and 18 others were indicted by Fulton County DA Fani Willis. They have until tomorrow noon to do so. These Republicans, these supporters of Donald Trump who have been advancing the election lie, they did so in Georgia. They also tried to interfere with results there. They, of course, are going to have their day in court. They have been trying to fight this. In fact, one of those folks, former Trump Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, literally tried to go to federal court to assert that he was doing his job as a Chief of Staff. Fani Willis fired back by saying, actually, you were violating the Hatch Act by being involved in political purposes working for Donald Trump. This, of course, is his mugshot that was taken. He was not the only person who was booked today. Of course, again, they are awaiting Donald Trump to turn himself in. We're going to be getting his mugshot as well. Authorities there in Fulton County in Atlanta made it perfectly clear that he is going to be treated like any other defendant who is going to be treated who comes into that particular jail there. Now, folks, the chair, the leader of the Black Voices for Trump, he is still sitting in jail because he did not work out a bond agreement. Well, that's on him. Folks, pull up his mugshot. He is one of two African Americans who was indicted by Fani Willis. Of course, the former PR person for Trevion Cootie, she, of course, was also indicted. And so I just get the kick out of these folks who are playing games here. Harrison Floyd is his name. Again, he did not arrange a bond deal, so he's still sitting there in Fulton County Jail. I don't know what the hell he was thinking, but, hey, you know what any of these people are thinking. According to the indictment, Floyd, of course, is the one who arranged the meeting between Fulton County election worker Ruby Freeman and Trevion Cootie, the former publicist to R. Kelly, as well as Kanye West. Now, Cootie has not turned herself in as of yet. Again, Donald Trump expected to do so. We are hearing around 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We will go live when that happens. Now, while this is happening in Fulton County, Republicans who tried to assist Donald Trump in stealing the election, they are literally trying to interfere with Fani Willis's investigation. This idiot, Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan, what he has now done, he is the chair of the House Judiciary Committee. He has informed Willis by letter saying he is launching an investigation into whether she coordinated with federal officials for the indictment. Okay, he sends this letter to her, y'all. Turning first to the question of motivation, it is noteworthy that just 4 days before this indictment, you launched a new campaign fundraising website that highlighted your investigation into President Trump. Additionally, the forewoman of the special grand jury you convened to investigate President Trump earlier this year bragged during an unusual media tour about her excitement at the prospect of subpoenaing President Trump and getting to swear him in. The timing of this prosecution reinforces concerns about your motivation. In February 2021, news outlets reported that you directed your office to open an investigation into President Trump. Indeed, sometime on around February 11, 2021, your office purportedly sent a letter to several Republican officials in Georgia requesting that they preserve documents related to a matter of high priority that your office was investigating, yet you did not bring charges until 2.5 years later, at a time when the campaign for the Republican presidential nomination is in full swing. Moreover, you have requested that the trial in this matter begin on March 4th, 2024, the day before Super Tuesday and 8 days before the Georgia presidential primary. It is therefore unsurprising many have speculated that this indictment and prosecution are designed to interfere with the 2024 presidential election. Yada, 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 yada. Now, one of the defendants in this case, who was a lawyer for Trump, he actually demanded a speedy trial, requested, this is Kenneth Chesborough, he actually requested 11-4. Fani Willis said, not a problem, player. We ready to go October 23rd of this year. And so he tried her, and now he learned his lesson. Folks, this is showing that these are amateurs. And these people are doing whatever they can to try to sit here and defend Donald Trump as best as he can. Then, of course, you got, how you doing? You got all of these people out here who are doing what they're doing, like MAGA Republican Byron Donalds out of Florida. He stands with Donald Trump. He is labeling these as political indictments.
Well, look, the indictments are nothing but election interference from the radical left. This has been their mission all along. But I want to speak directly to the American people, whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent. We cannot have the Democrats turn our institutions into political weapons. If they'll do it to the former president, they'll do it to any other American. And our country is based on freedom and liberty and free thought and free speech. And just because you don't like how he took the last election, that is no reason to file criminal charges. That is a disgusting use of power from the executive branch of our federal government, and we have to have real changes.
I guess that idiot completely forgot how Donald Trump demanded them find 11,000 votes to help him win Georgia. I mean, he's on tape. But again, when you're a MAGA Republican and you don't care about facts, all you do is sit here and whine and complain. Now, y'all, you always got some idiots out there. You actually had this fool who is black wearing a shirt with the N-word on it, speaking on behalf of Donald Trump. If you want to see somebody who clearly was in the movie Get Out, it's this idiot right here.
I'm here to support President Trump. You want to know why I'm here to support President Trump? Because they done did black men like this for decades. Make up charges and put them, so I know Trump is innocent. I support Trump against this corrupt, two-tiered justice system. That's why I'm here to show my support as a black man for Trump. And I'm wearing my shirt, Niggas for Trump 2024, and I mean that.
What do you think about the indictment?
Oh, it's a bunch of bullshit. It's going around the country. You know, Fani Willis, she went to school with my sister. She's full of shit. She was full of shit then. So she's a puppet for the white liberal that is controlling everything. She's in front, but the white liberal back there pulling those strings, telling her what to do. That's what I think about her, making a fool of herself.
Do you think it's going to help his election?
Oh, of course it is. It's going to elevate him all the way. I think we should make Trump king. That's how I feel. We should make him king.
Wouldn't that be kind of like communistic?
No, that's nowhere near communist. Now, we're just going to make him king, but we still got our freedoms and rights and everything. He for that. Yeah, Trump for king 2024.
That's actually my URL. I own that URL.
You own that URL?
Can I get your name?
Really? Oh, my name is Niggas for Trump 2024.
I can't
Derek
write that.
Gibson,
That's my nigga.
Former candidate. I'm a former candidate for New York State Governor. Derek Gibson, look me up. Nigga, I'm there. I live up to it too, boy. I can scrap too, but I can get down, boy. Not better, I can. I got a proven track record. You want to try me out? Try to take this shirt off. I'll give you some of it.
Well, you can always count on idiots standing in support of another idiot. All right, let's bring in my panel right now. Greg Carr, he is, of course, Department of Afro-American Studies at Howard University. Glad to have Greg here. Regular panelist here on Thursday. We also, first of all, and Greg, I got your gift from the Alpha Convention. I got your Tennessee State Alpha shirt came in, and so I'll hook you up next time I see you. The shirt came in. I was going to hold it up, but I'm actually traveling. Like I'm literally sitting here in the airport, and so we gotta. I'll hook you up when I'm back in town. All right, y'all. Also on the show, Reese Colbert, host of Reese Colbert Show at Sirius XM Radio out of Washington D.C. Candace Kelly, legal analyst, South Orange, New Jersey. Glad to have all three of you here. Candace, I want to start with you. These Trump folks. They really think this is a game. Chesbro tried to sit here and play Fani Willis by saying, oh, I want a speedy trial, and I want to go November 4th. She was like, yeah, we good October 23rd. And now they got to sit here and respond, and he, of course, so he'll be separated from the other folks, and so others may be requested as well. They really think this sister is joking around, Candace.
And she is not, as we saw by her indictment that was almost 100 pages long. And the reason why it took her so long in order to get all of that together is because she wanted to indict those 19 people in concert, showing that there was a racketeering scheme. So, you know, when we talk about the fact that they're trying to go after her the same way that they went after Alvin Bragg in terms of what types of federal funds and time were you using, and were you doing the right thing in terms of your investigation? Now let's investigate you, even though we don't have the right, and even though we have done the same thing that you have done in the past in order to get the Democrats that we want to bring down. As you said, she is no joke. And the reason why she took so long is because, number one, we had COVID, right? So if they want to back time all of this, they're going to find a lot of natural delays that she had had nothing to do with. And number two, you had to coordinate all of these people who were involved in all of these other cases. Trump's just not involved in these 4 cases. He's involved in other cases that have to do with defamation, right? He was sued for sexual assault. So there is a calendar that you have to look at when you are an attorney to try to figure out, how do I coordinate my grand jury to make sure that all the parties that I want that need to testify are there when I want them to be there. So it was really a time game. Remember, Alvin Bragg said, listen, I have my date coming up next year, but I will move my date if anybody else wants to use this date so that he can get indicted on other kind of more serious charges. So not that they're working in tandem with each other, but it is kind of a chess game to figure out the timing involved and all of the people that need to be coordinated. So they can investigate all they want. This had nothing to do with the fact that she was trying to prolong this case to try to match up with the election. There are so many moving parts, 19 in this one specifically, that she had to coordinate and get together and make sure lined up for this indictment to stick.
Greg, what I find to be really interesting, especially when you're dealing with these lightweights like Jim Jordan, they're going, whoa, why did you wait 2.5 years? You actually have to do an investigation. You have to actually collect evidence, do interviews. I mean, this shows you how idiotic these people are. And they do not care about the rule of law. We heard that Yahoo Byron Donalds with his crap calling it free speech. We get the talking points. This goes to show you that these are not serious people. These are people who, frankly, are thugs, who support a thug, and they will say and do whatever to let this man get away with a criminal activity.
Well, yes, sir. I think you're absolutely right. They will say or do anything. Byron Donalds, perhaps the brother who was speaking from Georgia, can send Brother Byron one of those shirts. Maybe even put one in the mail for Tim Scott for his stellar performance the other night. So there seems to be a nice little fraternity of these clowns. The pride of the Ohio 4th, Jim Jordan, is doing what he's supposed to do. I think you're absolutely right. They don't care. Rule of law is fine as long as they are the ones ruling. So in the case of federal intervention, Jim Jordan wants to use the federal government. We saw him do that back in April with Alvin Bragg when they went to New York and took their clown show on the road for their victims of violent crime in Manhattan hearing, where they tried to embarrass Alvin Bragg and fell flat on the face. That'll happen with Fani Willis. Now, I mean, we know how Fani Willis rolls. We know that. We can see in her indictment back in May 22 of Jeffrey Williams, who the young cat who the hip-hop community calls Young Thug. She charged 28 people in that one. That case has been whittled down to 8 people. And if that is any prelude, what we can expect from this indictment is that there are going to be some who have their cases severed. There are going to be some who flip with plea deals. And while 19 were charged, it might end up with public enemy number 1, Donald Trump, and a handful of others after the rest of them who have already begun to turn on each other flip. Fani Willis is methodical. She takes her time. In the Young Thug case, that's still going on. They're still in jury selection for that. But what we see finally is a situation where these white nationalists and the Negroes who love them, again, please send that shirt to Byron Donalds. He would look fitting in that shirt. They are acting out of desperation. It's the only play they have left. And to their credit, they're going to play it until the wheels fall out. But make no mistake, the wheels are going to fall off.
It is beyond laughable to watch them, Reese, to just listen to them. We heard it last night. I'm going to have some clips a little bit later. I mean, these fools literally signed pledges saying, hey, even if he's a nominee, you're going to support him. I mean, Chris Christie tried to sit here and, like, do a little dance, trying to play games there as well. And it's kind of like, Christie, stop, bro. I mean, come on. I mean, and this is what, look, when I blasted him 2 years ago on ABC, what did I say, Reese? I said, all they care about is power. They don't care about anything else. And this is what people need to understand. They only care about power.
That's exactly right. And that's why there is no moral leadership in the Republican Party. The Republican Party as a whole is just as debased and as criminal as Donald Trump always has been and always will be. I think that Vivek Ramaswamy should get one of those N-words for Trump shirts too, because he just a little Indian N-word up there, caping for Trump, and it's not going to work. Maybe you can get HUD, Vivek, but you will not be the vice president. You certainly will not be the damn presidential nominee either. This is all a big circus, and Trump is the biggest clown of them all. And the fact that he has no shame after, I think I've lost count, over 100 counts that he's facing across the different cases. He wants to turn this into prime time television. This is not going to change. This is who the Republican Party is. And I just have to say to all of these co-conspirators, indicted folks, the Trump mafia clan, welcome to your N-word wake-up call. Some of y'all actually are N-words, but the rest of y'all are getting a taste of what it's like to be an N-word in America and in this so-called justice system. And I do not celebrate the way that Black people get unjustly treated in this system. But I do celebrate the people that have helped perpetuate and celebrate this unjust system, getting a little bit of taste of their own medicine. The only difference is that they earned it, they're sick, and now they're getting perp walked, they're getting humiliated. I want to see these mug shots on T-shirts, on banners, on commercials, on everything. I want them to be as humiliated, and I want them to be held accountable. And I think it's going to happen because Fani Willis is not fucking around. So all I got to say is, bad boy, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Hey, and this time it's a Black woman, and that has to be even more painful for them. I'm loving every moment of it.
Of course she is. Hold tight 1 second. We're going to come back and talk more about this. At the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk about what's happening in Tulsa, where the white conservatives are doing what they do and targeting a predominantly Black school district. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. Back in a moment.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, have you ever had that $1 million idea and wondered how you could make it a reality? On the next Get Wealthy, you're going to meet Liska Askalise, the inventress, someone who made her own idea a reality and now is showing others how they can do it too.
Positive, focusing in on the thing that you want to do, writing it down, and not speaking to naysayers or anybody about your product until you've taken some steps to at least execute.
Liska Askalise on the next Get Wealthy, right here, only on Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Truly proud on the Proud Family.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Proud.
Hi, I'm Jo Marie Payton, voice of Sugar Mama on Disney's Louder and Prouder, Disney Plus. And I'm with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Hold on 1 second. trying to hit this Omni chart. I don't know why. Welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered, right here on the Black Star Network. Candace, when we look at, again, these indictments, we look at this process here, look, they tried to delay this as much as they could. They had until noon tomorrow. And, of course, Meadows tried this silly little game. And, man, did Fani Willis fire back by saying, dude, you violated the Hatch Act. You broke the law. You're trying to say that your actions were in accordance with being chief of staff. He admitted to breaking the federal law, the Hatch Act.
He did. He admitted to breaking the law, but see, this is what they've been doing all along in terms of this indictment and probably other indictments to come. You have to use all the types of delay tactics that you can use all the way up until 7:30 tonight when Trump actually turns himself in. And then even after Trump, we have more people that are going to turn themselves in, and they're going to try more last-ditch efforts in order to try to prolong this case. What Trump is doing right now, and what Meadows tried to do in this last-ditch effort, as you said, though violating the Hatch Act, is just trying to play the game a little bit, to try to make sure that his base is aroused. And that is exactly what Trump is doing. He thinks he's back on NBC in terms of primetime. He is making this a game that he is trying to win. He wants everybody to see it. He'll be the first one, if he can, to perhaps have his mugshot be put out, because he is campaigning. When Trump was looking at the debates last night, he wasn't saying anything about whether or not he was winning or losing. He was looking for someone to be a vice presidential candidate. That is all he thinks. That is all he's doing. Because in Trump's mind, and in a lot of people's mind, if you believe the polls, which it's probably too early to do so, in Trump's mind, he is winning. So, yes, you have all of these people trying to delay. They're spending money. They're spending time. They're violating law. But this is all they have left. Because really, we are at the witching hour, and this is it. Tomorrow by noon, everybody should have turned themselves in, and that is when the real game begins. Trump thinks that he's playing a game right now, but no, it begins tomorrow, because we're going to get that mugshot. We've got that bail that's $200,000, and all of his calendars. I mean, he's got to make sure that he is balancing so many things in terms of money, in terms of his legal fees. He's going to see what it takes in order to balance all this. But tonight he thinks he's a winner, but we'll see by tomorrow.
And look, Greg, he actually, you hear Jim Jordan trying to say, oh, Fani Willis, you're campaigning off of this. So are the Republicans. So was Trump. That's what they're doing. And so, right, he thinks it's a game, and this is why the Fulton County Sheriff should have said exactly what he said. No, you're not going to get any special favors. We're going to treat you like every other defendant, and you're going to get processed, fingerprinted, mugshot, damn special treatment. Greg, are you on mute? Greg, you on mute?
Yeah, I think I'm on mute. My bad. Sorry, bro.
There you go. There you go.
Thank you, brother. And I agree with what Rishi said a moment ago. We are black in this country. So we understand that, we are not always on the side of the rule of law, because we know that that has been used as a weapon against us. This is a situation where I think there is a desire to put faith in the legal process, because it is in the hands of a black woman in a black city, and it is being used against someone and someones in terms of this criminal enterprise, this RICO charge, who are dedicated, I won't even say to undermining the structure of the United States, because the United States is set up to be a white republic, but rather to exceed even the boundaries of the white republic as the rules have been played. These are folks who are facing, they're in a part of a dying population. They're part of an increasingly non-white population here in the United States, and they are pulling out all stops to remain in power. They are included, in addition to that, they are being funded, they are being supported, they are being pushed by those who could give a damn the color of anyone as long as they can continue to reap profits in the true criminal enterprise of the United States of America, which is monopoly capitalism. But what we are faced with as black people is a bit of a conundrum. We find ourselves in support of the rule of law as it is being wielded against these people. So finally, what you said, Roland, is absolutely correct. When the folks in Atlanta, the police, which we don't have the best relationship with police in Atlanta or in Georgia, certainly even black police, when they say we're going to treat you no different, then, as Candace and as Reese have said, they're getting a taste of what it's like to be black in America. So there's a bit of schadenfreude going on right now, I think. And probably the thing that we are finding the most satisfying is the N-word. In fact, perhaps that brother should send one of those T-shirts to each of the white indicted people, because now you get a little taste of how we feel.
Yes.
I think the thing here, Reese, is this thug and his fellow thugs have gotten away with this crap for years, and this is about accountability. And thankfully, and let's be real clear, it is black prosecutors who have been leading the charge. It was Tish James, the Attorney General in New York State, Alvin Bragg in Manhattan, now Fani Willis there in Georgia. Yeah, you got Jack Smith coming in as well, but it was black prosecutors holding them accountable. And Reese, as you said earlier, it is great that we're looking at, after this man accused black people of rigging the election, attacking these two black workers with impunity, dragging their name. They're getting death threats. And guess what? It's black folks who are on his ass.
Oh, yeah. This is like reparations criminal justice style. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the same person that put out a full-page ad falsely accusing and calling for death penalties for teenagers in the Central Park 5, now exonerated 5. And so, absolutely, I think that, these people who thought they were exempt, who thought this was all a game, and who, be clear, targeted Georgia because it is black votes that put Biden over the edge, Biden-Harris. They had already lost the election. So aside from the moral victory, I guess, that they thought they would get from reversing the Georgia elections, there was still no path to the White House for them based on a wipeout electoral college win. And so what we've seen from Trump and his acolytes is going after black voters across the country. They failed. And this just all feels very black. It just feels like big black payback in terms of the district attorney, in terms of the people who were handing out the indictment charges, the night of the indictment when it came out, the press conference, black people marching to the thing. And to echo Dr. Carr's point, I am not celebrating the criminal justice system. I'm not even convinced that it's going to prevail in this case. But just the same way that they, trump up charges and they overcharge black people and they do all this kind of stuff, and then eventually they might quietly let the stuff go, but your whole life has been flipped upside down. This is exactly what these folks are experiencing. And so I look at it as a little bit of justice. I don't think that there's any guarantee that the laws won't change in terms of even what we've talked about with, Trump not being able to be pardoned. As long as there's a Republican trifecta in Georgia, who knows what can happen in terms of his actual criminal liability. And the reality is that he is winning in terms of the polls. I didn't see anybody on that debate stage that made an argument that's resonating with Republican voters as to why Trump should not be the nominee. They were all auditioning for a Trump presidency. And that is what the Republican Party is now and what it will be, whether he is behind bars or not. They've made it clear, and I don't see that changing. And the last thing I just want to say is this is do or die for Trump. So this is not a normal circumstance where somebody might have a little bit of shame, where they might be able to negotiate, okay, I'll drop out of the race so that I can, negotiate a plea deal, or maybe he'll drop the charges. No, he has to actually be the nominee to have as much leverage as possible so that he can pressure these Republican trifectas, so that he can pressure everybody to bring the weight of their power down on a Fani Willis, on an Alvin Bragg, on a Jack Smith, or whoever the case may be, so that he can stay out of jail for the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm. And look, I've made this perfectly clear, Candace. This man has no bottom. He has none. And so the only way you deal with him is you must prosecute his behind. He does not but have any integrity. He has no morals. He has no values. He has no principles. You must take him out.
And Roland, the reason why the Fani Williams and the Alvin Braggs and Letitia James have had to do what they have done so precisely is because Trump has had a history of getting away with things, not just throughout the past few years, but throughout the past decades. So for him, he is in probably a real psychological stronghold. He doesn't understand what's really going on until it hits him. Like Reese said, this is it. He's not going to be able to plea bargain his way out. Someone's already probably making a plea bargain on their behalf to make sure that they don't go down with him, one of his co-conspirators on any of these other cases. He's been getting away with this for so long, he probably doesn't even understand kind of what's going on and kind of the severity of this, because he has been the slumlord. He has had the university where he has taken away people's monies. He has faked documents. He has faked, the cost of his properties in order to get loans. All of this is documented. He was convicted of the assault case. He's now going through a defamation case. For him, he's been doing this forever. And I think that this is something, it's like kind of if you go outside and you see your car is stolen. For him, he has walked outside in this world and doesn't see quite yet that the rug is being pulled up from under him. He thinks he's going to be able to get away with this and in and around this because of attorneys and things of that nature. Number one, a lot of his attorneys are co-conspirators are going to be taking the stand against him and have had to remove themselves from their cases with him because of that. So he's not as safe as he thinks. And I think that, like Reese said, this is the time where he is probably going to really understand kind of the full journey that he is going to be making. It's much different this time, and it's in the middle of a campaign and an election that he wants to win.
All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. When we come again, we're going to keep an eye on Fulton County when a thug-in-chief arrives with the motorcade to get processed to being indicted in Fulton County. We come back. We're going to talk about the drama out of Oklahoma and the battle with that MAGA state superintendent in the state of Oklahoma. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Of course, you're on YouTube. Hit the like button. Also, folks, subscribe to our Brina Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible for us to cover the stories that matter to you and get a perspective that no one else is giving to you. And so, see your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And of course, you can also download our Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. And be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear: How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available at bookstores nationwide. Get it at Barnes & Noble, Target, Books A Million. Get it on Amazon. Download the audio version on Audible. We'll be right back.
You go into a barbershop in a 700 credit score neighborhood, black or white. They're talking about their ideas and they're talking about how they're going to move on those things. You go to a barbershop at a 500 credit score, equal brilliance but bad culture. They're talking about other people. You go to a winner's barbershop. Here's what I'm doing. You go to the barbershop of where people feel defeated. They talk about other people, either celebrities or people they admire, but also often, I don't like Joe. I don't like Roland Martin. Well, let me tell you something. I don't understand people. How could you not like anything here you see? You should just be like, this is amazing. It's cool. You may not even like how he does it or how I do it, but it's like, you know what? They're succeeding. They're killing it. All you should be is, that's fantastic. But if I don't like me, I'm not going to like you. If I don't feel good about me, it's hard for me to feel good about you. If I don't respect me, don't expect me to respect you. If I don't love me, I don't have a clue how to love you. And here's a big one. If I don't have a purpose in my life, I'm going to make your life a living hell.
On the next A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie. Summer is flying by and back to school is just around the corner and fall is here. That's right, a new season is upon us. On our next show, we talk about jumping into action and putting procrastination in the rearview mirror. That's on a next A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Me, Sherry Shepard, and you know what you're watching, Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered. So just so you know, so earlier in the day, I was speaking to the Business Council in Milwaukee. I had a noon fireside chat, be live streaming on the Black Star Network. I had a great time with him. Caught a 6:30 flight from D.C. to Chicago. They drove to Milwaukee. We did the event. I'm on a 9 p.m. flight back tonight, so the only way for me to be able to sit here and do the show is to do it right here from O'Hare Airport. So I'm literally sitting here in the airport doing Roland Martin Unfiltered. So y'all know we make it happen, completely portable, so we do what we have to do. All right, let's talk about our next story, folks. In Oklahoma, a lot of drama there when it comes to the state's largest school district potentially losing its accreditation and being taken over by the state. Now, we saw what happened there in Texas, where the TEA took over the Houston Independent School District. And now in Oklahoma, same thing is happening there, where they may very well take over the Tulsa School District. Now, first of all, the Tulsa superintendent has already stepped down. All this has been driven by the state superintendent, Ryan Walters, a MAGA Republican who's been driving people crazy. Remember, this is the fool who also said kids in Oklahoma should learn about the Tulsa Race Massacre, but leave out race. It's called the Tulsa Race Massacre. And so now the superintendent of the Tulsa Public Schools, Deborah Gist, she is stepping down to avert a takeover of the district, which is being spearheaded by Walters. Many believe his efforts to take over the city schools are politically motivated. Oklahoma State Representative Monroe Nichols joins me right now. He's also running for mayor of Tulsa. So, Representative Nichols, what the hell is going on in Tulsa and in Oklahoma?
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me on. And, we've talked about this before. You and I talked about the same person on a past show. What's going on is somebody who's taking the district with the largest amount of black students, most diverse district in the state, and trying to take it over. He's not really talked about outcomes. He's not talked about any of that. But from the start, this has all been about him trying to wield his way for a district in the community that he believes is going in the wrong direction. You say, oh, is it because of outcomes? No, it is because of diversity. The first thing he tried to do is come over and take over based on the teaching of history. A couple of years ago, that was the first deficiency the district got. Even his own accreditation department said that taking their accreditation was not appropriate. He moved to try to do that. And so today, they did accredit the district, but they're going to force the district to come every month to give a report to the state school board in the hope of seeing if the district makes a mistake here or there. I want to just remind you of a couple other things, Roland. This is the same state superintendent who said that teachers' unions were terrorist organizations. This is the same superintendent who said he wanted to combat woke ideology. This is the same superintendent that has incited radical violence and bomb threats in another school district here in Tulsa, because some of the folks who follow his rhetoric has had, for 3 days in a row, has had bomb threats to school districts here in Tulsa because they want to make sure there's no woke ideology, and they said they'll continue to do it. So Tulsa right now is really boiling right now, and it's because this one person, this one ideologue, wants to tear apart our community because he didn't like the way that people look who go to our schools.
One of the things that I think is interesting is that he's even pissed off Republicans in Oklahoma.
Yep. Yeah. You know, Roland, I think if we were to take a vote right now in the House, it's possible we could impeach him in the House right now. You know, what the problem that we have, the problem the Republican Party has across the country is courage. It's the same courage where they don't stand up to Donald Trump. Sometimes they don't have that same courage inside of a state like Oklahoma. I think he's gone so far at this point that even Republicans are like, we got to get rid of him. It does take courage, which they don't always have, but he's getting closer and closer and closer. You mentioned Houston. There's another example from Texas, which is the Attorney General, who finally was impeached by the Texas House because of, he wanted them to settle a lawsuit. Ryan Walters is going down that same road. The FBI is investigating him right now. Our Attorney General is investigating him right now. Our state auditor has already said there's been some financial impropriety at the State Department of Education. And now, with this move to try to unaccredit the largest school in the district in the state, with the most black kids of any school district in the state, all because he just doesn't like how they do business, is just yet another thing that's starting to show, hey, maybe this guy shouldn't be state superintendent anymore.
Questions from my panel. Reese, you first.
What is the recruitment process going to be like now with the current superintendent stepping down? Is there any idea of is Ryan Walters going to appoint somebody, or is that still locally going to be controlled?
Yeah, it's a great question. So by averting the takeover, the local school board was able to appoint an interim superintendent. It's a strong black woman. Her name is Ebony Johnson, a good friend of mine, and somebody who I know. She's a Tulsan through and through. I met her years ago, and she's going to be great. But she's gonna take this job in the most uncomfortable environment ever. And so one of the things that we're really focused on is making sure that Ebony's able to do her job in educating young people in this community. But you can guess the kind of hostility that we feel from the state superintendent right now. It's gonna be really difficult. But Ebony's ready to go. I'm excited about it. But I'm gonna tell you right now, the threat of a takeover is not anywhere close to being over. And they're going to make it as tough as possible, not only because they feel about this community, but because of hostility for folks who look like Ebony and I. It's going to be tough for her, but she's ready for the challenge, I believe.
Greg.
Thank you, Roland, and thank you, Representative Nichols. As you said, you and Roland have talked about this before, and we've been following this clown, Ryan Walters, this 38-year-old who's got 8 years of high school teaching into his belt before he becomes a state superintendent, calling for prayer in public schools, hanging the 10 Commandments in classrooms. It's a real clown. I want to follow up with what you raised about the possibility of getting him out of office.
Yeah.
What would it take to initiate something that might lead to that? Because, as you say, even on MAGA terms, this guy is a real piece of work.
Yeah, I think what we saw in Texas is that what happened eventually is that Attorney General had all these antics outside the building, but when he came and asked the Texas legislature for $3 million to settle a lawsuit, that was the bridge too far. I mentioned all the things that Ryan Walters has out in front of him right now. Eventually, he's going to have to come to us and ask us for money to solve one of his problems. I think that's going to be the linchpin that's going to get him out of there. It is sad, though, that all the antics aren't enough. What has happened in the last several weeks, if you can imagine, at Tulsa Public Schools, right when school was starting, 38,000 kids and families didn't know if they were going to have school. You can't recruit teachers that way. You can't hire people that way. So to me, that was enough. That was a bridge too far already. But I guarantee you, as these investigations come to full fruition, he's going to come to us in the legislature, and I think my Republican colleagues are going to be like, we've had enough, and you got to go. And to me, that's where we're headed right now. Unfortunately, there's no incentive for doing the right thing in politics, especially in red states. But the financial prudent thing might be what actually gets him out of office eventually.
Thank you.
Candace.
So the school is accredited, but with these deficiencies, what would you say is the key deficiency, and can it be fixed in this process? Is that a part of the planning here?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the deficiencies is a gotcha deficiency. There was an employee a little while back that embezzled some money. The district caught it. They got rid of the employee. They've recovered most of the money. So what's going to happen now is that if you have the deficiency 2 years in a row, that's where you risk losing your accreditation. I guarantee you they're going to stop at no end. I mean, if there's a pencil that was bought improperly, they're going to pop the district for it. And so having them come every month, the thought that Dr. Johnson, who's a good friend of mine, is going to have to go in front of that state school board every month and do a song and dance for those folks makes me sick to my stomach. And that's what they're going to force her to do. They're not going to treat her with a lot of respect, and they're going to look for any avenue they can find to get rid of the Tulsa Public Schools accreditation. And so, like, to me, the facts of it all are not going to be what's going to win the day. What's going to win the day is somebody who wants to take this course of action, and he's going to find every way possible that he can take it. And that's what's unfortunate about this whole situation. Because, look, this is not just about Tulsa. Roland mentioned Houston. Now it's Tulsa. Pretty soon it'll be, Boise, Idaho, or it'll be, one of these other states where you have a really conservative state environment and these blue cities. This is an attack on urban America, and this is just the latest example of it. And I guarantee you, I look forward to coming back on one day when y'all say, well, yeah, he was right about that, because now it's popping up in all these other places where we have these, these Republican governors and state legislators that are punishing these schools. Tulsa is just the latest example of this. This guy's an ideologue. I guarantee you there's some manual and blueprint for how you do this. It's going to show up everywhere across the country. My hope is that maybe Tulsa can be a place that slows it down, if not stops it, before other kids across this country are impacted by it.
All right, Representative Nichols, we surely appreciate you joining us. Keep us abreast of what's happening in your state. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
Folks, we come back. Crazy right-wingers are pushing PregerU now in Texas. I told y'all this thing was bigger than CRT. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network, live in Chicago's O'Hare Airport. Back in a moment.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. The United States is the most dangerous place for a woman to give birth among all industrialized nations on the planet. Think about that for a second. That's not all. Black women are 3 times more likely to die in this country during childbirth than white women.
These healthcare systems are inherently racist. There are a lot of white supremacist ideas and mythologies around black women's bodies, even black people, that we experience painless, right?
Activist, organizer, and fearless freedom fighter Monifa Akinwole Bandele from Moms Rising joins us and tells us this shocking phenomenon, like so much else, is rooted in unadulterated racism. And that's just one of her fights. Monifa Bandele on the next Black Table here on the Black Star Network.
Next on The Frequency with me, Dee Barnes, we're going to talk to Leslie Segar, a.k.a. Big Les, and talk about her incredible career as a dancer, choreographer, and VJ of Rap City.
Magic Johnson was there, so half the NBA was there. Iman the supermodel, so all the supermodels were there every day. Actors, right. Like it was a who's who of who's who.
Right here on The Frequency in the Black Star Network.
You go into a barbershop in a 700 credit score neighborhood, black or white, they're talking about their ideas and they're talking about how they're going to move on those things. You go to a barbershop at a 500 credit score, equal brilliance, but bad culture, they're talking about other people. You go to a winner's barbershop, here's what I'm doing. You go to the barbershop of where people feel defeated, they talk about other people, either celebrities or people they admire, but also often, I don't like Joe. I don't like Roland Martin. Well, let me tell you something. I don't understand people. How could you not like anything here you see? You should just be like, this is amazing. It's cool. You may not even like how he does it or how I do it, but it's like, you know what? They're succeeding. They're killing it. All you should be is, that's fantastic. But if I don't like me, I'm not going to like you. If I don't feel good about me, it's hard for me to feel good about you. If I don't respect me, don't expect me to respect you. If I don't love me, I don't have a clue how to love you. And here's the big one. If I don't have a purpose in my life, I'm going to make your life a living hell.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Prouder.
Right now, I'm rolling with Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
Carol? Hold on. All right, folks, these are live looks of the air and the ground. Of course, as folks await the orange one to turn himself in to authorities in Fulton County. A number of the folks have already been doing so, and so you know, it's been quite interesting watching all of these different individuals turn themselves in, getting their mug shots. Because, see, they really thought they were going to get away with this thing. They really thought they were going to follow this fool. And you know what, and Candace, you got to love this idiot Harrison Floyd, Black Voices for Trump. I mean, how do they feel about you? They didn't even set money aside for your dumb ass to make your bond. It's how stupid they are.
And, you know, I'm going to have to kind of remind myself of what Giuliani said. Even he said, listen, there's some normal people here. These aren't celebrities and people with a lot of money that we are talking about. We are talking about people that are not on the level of a Giuliani. And I think by that he was saying, no one's paying attention to him. And we see exactly what happened to this man who was sitting in jail. No one is giving him the time of day. As you said, the first thing you do is have to negotiate a bond so that you can get out, because you know you have to go and turn yourself in. None of that happened. Nobody volunteered to pay for it to happen. Nobody volunteered to hold a press conference on his behalf. Nobody volunteered to do anything for this man. So I think that he is getting a little bit of an idea about what a pawn he was in all of this, and about what he really means to the MAGA movement, and how his role as a black man at the end of the day really was inconsequential, because nobody's caring about him, because he's in jail and he's going to stay there because nobody cares, and that's the ultimate end in this situation.
You know what, Greg? Candace brings up Rudy Giuliani. I saw this story as I had Washington Post and New York Times. This dumbass Trump owes this fool $3 million in legal fees. He's sitting here complaining. First of all, he lost a bunch of his money when he got divorced again. And so his wife took his ass to the cleaners. Trump wouldn't pay. And then Trump kept saying we keep losing cases. Fool, you lost every single case. This is how stupid Rudy Giuliani is. You literally traded in. The dude was making millions of dollars after 9/11. America's mayor was giving speeches, all kind of different stuff. He literally traded all that in just to be in Trump's orbit. I keep telling people, these fools were talking about the access to power, and they're getting burned, and I'm just laughing at all of them.
Yeah, absolutely, Roland. And I join the laughter toward Rudy Giuliani, to quote Gil Scott-Heron when he was referring to Frank Rizzo. We send Rudy Giuliani our coldest regards. Some of us are old enough to remember Rudy Giuliani riding into the mayor's mansion there in Manhattan on the back of Crown Heights, and standing with the police, chanting against black and brown people in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, against David Dinkins. Some of us are old enough to remember Rudolph Giuliani unsealing the juvenile record of Patrick Dorismond, who was killed in plainclothes police, who was killed outside of a club, of trying to engage in character assassination when the young Haitian brother Albert Louima was sodomized in a police station.
Okay, and it's Reese and Dr. Carr. Okay, thank you.
It couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Rudolph Giuliani has a bill that he's run up. I remember, of course, when he had that cancer scare, being in Brooklyn, and the Haitian sisters who practice Vodun said, we put that on Rudolph Giuliani to get him out of the governor's race. If you remember, he was running, for Senate against Hillary Clinton, or at least aspired to run for. So, to echo what we heard earlier when Candace and Reese brought this up, and when you brought it up, these black prosecutors wielding the law the way it, I guess, to the limits of what it can be done, are finally going to bring Rudolph Giuliani to heel. And I don't give a damn as much about what he did with Donald Trump. That man has a long record of being against us that he is now going to pay for. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Dr. Carr and Reese, we just lost Roland for a minute because of some technical difficulties. But Reese, I wanted to go to you on this because as Trump prepares to turn himself in, I want to get your idea of what you think is going through his mind in terms of this particular setup and why he decided to make this prime time. What do you think is his ultimate goal in going this particular route? 7:30 at night, the day before the actual deadline?
Well, I think it's a couple of things. Number one, fundraising. He's broke. He needs to raise money. And there's a lot of money in theatrics. I think one of the things that distinguishes Donald Trump, it's a negative thing, it's a notorious thing, but it's an effective thing in terms of the Republican base, is his knack for the flair. He's an entertaining person, for better or worse, and there's no other candidate in the race that's trying to run against him that offers this kind of entertainment value. We saw that the debate last night was like watching a WWE match. It was completely out of control. It was unhinged, and Donald Trump just knows how to keep people entertained. And so he's trying to make himself a martyr. He's trying to make this a bigger news story because, to be honest, his other accounts kind of flopped a little bit. You didn't get the Truckers for Trump out there driving across country, honking their horns to protest. It really was very low key. And so he needs this to be a national news story. He needs his people to be energized. He needs people to put their money where their mouth is. And I hope he's wearing his Depends because I'm sure he's shitting bricks. This is very serious for him. And he is not going to win on a legislative level. The only way he wins is in trying to control the narrative, is trying to, like I said, get some leverage from public pressure, whether that is towards the district attorney, whether that's towards any other prosecutors, but more importantly, towards the potential jury pool. We've seen Young Thug's jury still has not been seated after months. I think it's already a record-long jury process for that. And so a lot is at stake for him, and the only way he wins this is not on the books. It's not through the actual letter of the law. It's through convincing enough people that he does not belong in jail. And if he does happen to get sentenced to jail, he has to convince enough people to change the law so that he can get out of it.
Dr. Carr, Reese makes a good point. This is really witching hour. He's got 28 minutes right now. He's going to be turning himself in. He's making a big deal of it right now. But she also mentioned the debates. Reese did. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, when you watched the debates, what do you think was going through Trump's mind as he was seeing what you were seeing? Do you think that he saw that he might have lost maybe some of his base, or was this really inconsequential in terms of his particular lead in what a lot of the polls are showing?
Well, I agree with y'all. I mean, it's no consequence. He may have been looking for those who might audition for the vice president's slot. Could he hold his nose as a racist and stomach perhaps a bumbling Tim Scott as a vice presidential candidate? Who knows? We know Chris Christie is disqualified. But at the end of the day, he doesn't need to engage in debates. If I were him, I wouldn't go to the debates either. Why?
Right.
His people are ride or die. So they're going to do what they're going to do anyway. And he's leading by so many points at this point. We know it's not going to be Pence. We know it's not going to be Christie. And they were auditioning for VPs. And we know it's not going to be Nimrata Haley. And so, Donald Trump, it's difficult, though. I'll end with this. Because even when he is the nominee, regardless of his legal troubles, as Reese said, regardless of the close to 100 different counts across these 4 cases that he has to battle now. The simple fact of the matter is he could win the election. And that's something we have to face. We let it sneak up on us last time with the help of his friends like Joe Scarborough and Mika and the people at CNN. We let it sneak up on us last time. But we need to be very vigilant of the fact that when you start talking about voter suppression and you start talking about shaving off a little bit here or there, when you start I'm talking about getting it close enough to steal in some of these states, this man could be the president of the United States again. It's a very real possibility. So we shouldn't get too comfortable in this moment. So why would he participate in debates? He's going to be the nominee unless something happens that we haven't anticipated.
No, absolutely. And, when we talk about the counter-programming that happened with him and I will not name his name in terms of the Fox host, but when he was on there, he knew what he was doing by recording it early because he had to prepare for tonight, right? He had to prepare to get in a car and go to the airport, Reese, in order to make that happen. I'm wondering from you, Reese, what did you think about Ron DeSantis? Because a lot of people thought that he was going to be this person that was going to be coming out and just laying all of the punches. But it seemed to me that he was a little lackluster, unprepared, and really was talking and giving a lot of canned answers to questions that were not even asked. What was your take on DeSantis from last evening?
Ron DeSantis, I've been saying this from the beginning, is flopping and flailing. I don't think he's electable on a national level. He is the prime example of how the media props up a person that they want to anoint as the Trump alternative. And I think he fell completely flat. He has no charisma whatsoever. And, there's a lot of people on that stage that offered a lot more spark than what he did. And I don't say that as a compliment to them. I just say it as the reality of the situation. I think from the very beginning, when he launched his campaign on Twitter Spaces, he signaled to the world that he is not ready for prime time, and last night proved it. There's a big difference between going against Andrew Gillum, which I thought Andrew Gillum mopped the floor with him, but it's still Florida, and going up against all of these people who were there to fight and to spar, and he's in second place. Now, he's in a distant second place, and I don't see how he makes up the ground. The Republican Party had the opportunity to really show an alternative to Trump, and they just marched right on down the Trump train with everybody else. And so as long as they're sticking with Trumpism, Ron DeSantis doesn't stand a chance in hell.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I got a note in my ear. I wasn't sure if Roland was back yet, if someone could let me know before I move on. All right. I don't think that he's back yet. Dr. Carr, one of the things I think is interesting is that certainly was watching this. Do you think that there's anything that Joe Biden had to worry about when he was watching these particular candidates? It certainly was an entree into what their MO was going to be, what their talking points were going to be, and what their disposition certainly was in terms of their enthusiasm and passion. Again, DeSantis was just lackluster. But what do you think Joe Biden saw in that group of Republican presidential candidates?
I'm not sure, Candace. I mean, I think the Democrats, this is their election to lose if they can simply get the message out. I don't think that there was anyone that poses a threat on that stage to Joe Biden any more than Joe Biden poses a threat to himself. His major challenge is to keep breathing and not have any more diminished capacity. Certainly, the governor of California seems ready to step into the wings in case something does go left very quickly. But at the end of the day, Joe Biden's biggest challenger, it seems to me, would be mortality. That man got to keep breathing and live, and his party is going to have to start punching from the heels instead of just kind of sitting and expecting that people will vote with logic, because we know that's not the case. I agree with Reese 100%. On Ron DeSantis. He has never been ready for prime time. If Andrew Gillum hadn't conceded so quickly, we might not be talking about Ron DeSantis right now. Of course, when you run for re-election, it's not like the first time, but Ron DeSantis has been completely exposed. And of course, all you got to do is follow the money. The donors have given to Christie since they gave to DeSantis. They're beginning to back away. They were thoroughly unimpressed with his performance last night. And so I think, finally, if Joe Biden he needs to concentrate on the Democratic platform and the Democratic talking points, because there's really nobody on that stage that poses a threat, at least at this stage.
I'm going to throw this conversation about the debate and the perp walk that's coming back to Roland.
Yeah, folks, had a little power issue, but that's all resolved. You're seeing Donald Trump's plane has landed there in Atlanta. We're going to go to a break. We come back. Of course, we can't wait till he get processed, and we get to show you that mug shot. So we'll have a split screen. We come back. We're going to talk about what's happening there in Texas with PregerU. We'll also talk further about last night's Republican debacle in Milwaukee. Man, if you want to talk about a bunch of weak-ass Republicans on stage, you saw it in action last night. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Back in a moment.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Next on The Frequency with me, Dee Barnes. We're going to talk to Leslie Segar, a.k.a. Big Les, and talk about her incredible career as a dancer, choreographer, and VJ of Rap City.
Magic Johnson was there, so half the NBA was there. Iman the supermodel, so all the supermodels were there every day. Actors,
right.
Like it was a who's who of who's who.
Right here on The Frequency in the Black Star Network.
Farquhar, executive producer of Proud Family.
Bruce Smith, creator and executive producer of The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. And you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
So the right-wing site PregerU, not a real university, it's fake. That's a right-wing outfit. They got their start with $7 million from two Texas conservative billionaires. They went on, of course, to build this platform, generating more than 1 billion views on YouTube. Now the curriculum is being used in Florida. Now they say they're branching off into Texas. Well, people in Texas are saying, that's not really the case. But the reality is, this is what Republicans' plan is. What they want to do is they love talking about indoctrination. They love talking about, how they want to stop that. But it's exactly what they want to do with PregerU. Now, we're joined PregerU CEO Marissa Street, joined by Texas State Board of Education member Julie Pickren, said that PregerU will be working directly with Texas on developing the core knowledge curriculum for all Texas K-12 students. Now, state officials say the controversial nonprofit has not been approved as an educational vendor. Texas State Board of Education member Aisha Davis joins me now from Dallas. Glad to have you on the show. So, again, we already see that what they're doing in Florida. They want to do the exact same thing in Texas, and they absolutely are going to be leaning on those white conservatives there to make this happen.
Well, we've already had a couple of sensationalized radical Republican attempts with our history. Last year, there was an attempt to rename the slave trade involuntary relocation. I was able to talk to my colleagues about why that was harmful language and that was killed. We just now adopted African American studies in Texas in 2020. So the fact that my colleague made this announcement, I wasn't too surprised, but I was really shocked because I knew we had not voted on PregerU, nor had I heard of it being included in any item. So that announcement was the first I had heard of anything about them having conversations in Texas. And my colleague is announcing they're adopted.
So, but are you concerned, though, that these PregerU people are already saying this? It sounds like the fix is in.
Oh, absolutely not. So they have not been approved. They have not been adopted. No state board member beyond Member Pickering was included in the announcement. It has not been in any of our meetings. So they are absolutely not approved by the State Board of Education. If they do choose to submit, they're going to have a hard time because at this time now, all Texans know the intent. And I can tell you, people from all backgrounds, from both sides of the aisle, have reached out to me and discussed with PregerU material. So I can guarantee you, if they do attempt to be adopted in Texas, they are going to have a lot of resistance from educators, community members, from pretty much a lot of Texans from all around the state.
Just for the folks who are watching, yeah, we are monitoring what's happening in Fulton County. We're going to go to a split screen there and keeping our eye on Trump's motorcade to Fulton County jail as well as outside of the courthouse. So just letting y'all know that. Let me go to my questions for Board Member Davis. I want to start with Reese. Reese, go.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, in terms of is there any kind of grassroots pushback on this kind of thing, or is it still so below the radar that people haven't been engaged on that level yet?
This is very, very fresh. All of this has transpired over the last couple of days. I can tell you the Texas NAACP hopped on this immediately, and they made sure the public was aware of how harmful PregerU material actually is. And looking at a lot of the videos, that information, I mean, it's ridiculous. And especially in a state where you have majority Black and brown kids, there's no way they need to be learning from sensationalized instructional material like that. So Texas NAACP, we have another group, EDRA, that's hopped in, and a lot of our citizens have been emailing board members, the Texas Education Agency, very upset at the idea that we would adopt such material. But a lot of people are getting involved in this fight.
Before I go to Greg, as you see, Trump's motorcade is making its way, about to exit the airport there on its way to being processed. And so we're going to be keeping our eye on that. Greg, your question.
Thank you, Roland, and thank you, Member Davis, for this fight. I mean, as an educator, I certainly am wary of this PregerU development. And, you know, we see the steady deterioration of education in this country, and this assault is right in line with it. Let me ask you something. Given that, as you know better than I do, there are over 1,000 school districts in the state of Texas, and while the State Board of Education can vote to adopt instructional materials, but it's up to those districts to use it, to decide whether to use it. Do you have a concern that there are districts that would in fact embrace this Prager material, even as there are other districts that would certainly reject it if the Board of Ed adopts these instructional materials?
That is certainly a concern. I have thought of the idea that you do have some school districts where you may have one or two educators who believe in this material. But all of our school districts are represented by trustees who have the responsibility to make sure that their districts have good instructional material. And so they will have that local level control to make sure that this material and any material that students are having access to are appropriate and truthful. So there is that mechanism, but of course there are some educators who may try to go rogue, like my colleague did, and offer the information anyway. But it has not been approved, it's not been vetted, it's not been supported by the state at all. And that is something I hope districts will keep an eye on, and parents as well. There should be an opt-out mechanism if this information is offered at a district. So I definitely want my parents to make sure that they're keeping an eye on this.
Candace.
So certainly correct history books are supposed to be what is taught in the classrooms. On the other hand, since these videos do exist, I'm wondering, has there been any seed planted about making videos from another perspective to counter these, so that all of these videos could be available for an option for teachers to use? Not that this would be the best plan, but is there anybody out there, or is there something that can be brought in the school that's the equivalent of these videos to counter these?
Right. As of right now, there is not. But let me tell you something. As soon as somebody introduces something that is equally radical on the other side, I guarantee you, then the state of Texas will enact some sort of law to shut this down quickly. I guarantee you, if there was some sort of curriculum that was put through the process like this was, that was based on the 1619 project, there would be an emergency special session where this would be shut down. So no, right now there is not, but if they are able to do it, then anybody is able to do it. And that's a concern that I do have, because literally nobody has vetted this product. So right now, to answer your question, no one else has, but it exists. If they think it's possible to do it this way, then this is open to anybody.
All right, Asha Davis, we certainly appreciate it. Keep us abreast what happens there with PregerU in Texas.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we're going to keep monitoring Donald Trump, that thug-in-chief, making his way to the Fulton County courthouse to get processed. We come back, we're going to talk Republicans and their voter suppression in North Carolina. The Democratic governor there vetoes their bill, but it is going to be overwritten by the Republican legislature. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
The next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach. Have you ever had that $1 million idea and wondered how you could make it a reality? On the next Get Wealthy, you're going to meet Liska Askalise, the inventress, someone who made her own idea a reality and now is showing others how they can do it too.
Positive, focusing in on the thing that you want to do, writing it down, and not speaking to naysayers or anybody about your product until you've taken some steps to at least execute.
Liska Askalise on the next Get Wealthy, right here, only on Black Star Network.
It's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show.
This is your boy, Earthquake.
And you're tuned in to
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Sounds like they landed at Hartsfield. That's why they're on the connector, because they have to come all the way up.
All right, folks, what you're seeing here is Donald Trump's motorcade making its way down the Atlanta freeway to the Fulton County Courthouse. The thug-in-chief is turning himself in to authorities. We'll be seeing Donald Trump's mugshot real soon. He has to get processed. He, of course, was indicted by Fulton County DA Fani Willis for trying to interfere in the 2020 election there in Georgia. And so he's making his way there. We are going to, of course, monitor this live shot, as well as have, of course, a shot as he approaches the courthouse, gets processed, and once they release that mug shot, we'll have it right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. I told you the Republicans keep doing what they do across this country, trying to steal elections. Well, in North Carolina, now they have a supermajority. They have passed one of the most ridiculous, onerous voter suppression bills. Governor Roy Cooper, Democrat, has vetoed the bill. He released this video talking about how shameful this bill is.
Right now, legislative Republicans in North Carolina are pushing an all-out assault on the right to vote, using the advice of Trump's hand-picked election denier, Cleta Mitchell, who was on the call trying to help him overturn the election in Georgia. This attack has nothing to do with election security and everything to do with keeping and gaining power. If you're a young person, Republicans really don't want you to vote. If you're a college student away from home, Republicans really don't want you to vote. If you're black or brown, Republicans really don't want you to vote. They've done their research, and they know when and how you vote. And they know you aren't as likely to vote for them. They know that you can change the outcome of elections. So they're making it harder for you to vote, hoping that you won't bother. Unfortunately, these schemes aren't new in North Carolina, and we've stopped many of them before. Only this time, Republicans are armed with a one-vote legislative supermajority and a court system stacked with partisan judges who've already turned the justice system upside down with two unprecedented election cases decided for Republicans. Here's just some of what Republicans want to do in Senate Bills 747 and 749. They know that younger and non-white voters tend to vote more by absentee ballot or by early voting. So they shortened the time your absentee votes can arrive and still count. And they made it easier to throw them out. They know Democrats often win the early vote by large margins, so they want to restrict it. Senate Bill 749 gives legislative Republicans more power to influence how elections are run. So they've created a setup that's a surefire bet to reduce the number of places you can vote early in your county. It could end up being only one voting place. Think about how long those lines will be. They also want to intimidate you by stacking the polling place with Republican poll observers who will be watching you vote and can hear your conversations with election officials. Many of them will be election-denying conspiracy believers trying to disrupt the process and prevent certain people from voting. And if that's not enough, they want contested election results to be decided by partisan judges or by Republican legislators themselves. Now that's dangerous. Today, I'm vetoing Senate Bill 747, and I'll veto 749 when I get it. Tell your state legislators to oppose them. Tell them to uphold the governor's veto. If you commit to call, write, text, or visit your legislators and work to hold them accountable in the next election, you'll make a difference. The fight to protect democracy in North Carolina must be won, but we need your help to do it. Thanks so much.
Well, as Cooper said there, Greg, Republicans, that turncoat Democrat she flipped, giving Republicans a supermajority. But this is what they have tried to do ever since 2008 when Senator Barack Obama won North Carolina about 14,100 votes. They have been pissed off ever since.
Absolutely, Roland. The Tricia Cotham legislature, Republican from Mecklenburg, who will have her political back broken in the next election, and is doing everything she can now to support her masters as she has gone from soft white nationalists to full-on white nationalists by joining the Republican Party. They have put Cooper in an untenable position. This is a situation, however, that we have to embrace. We have to lean into. They have been working, as you've been noting now, for quite some time, to stack the judiciary, to take over states, state legislatures, state courts. They have the federal courts now in a place that's much more favorable to them. And so now we have to stop pussyfooting with these people. They've made it more difficult to vote, but they have not taken the right to vote. So we need to get into North Carolina, register. Folk need to vote. If they took away all the early voting days and all the absentee voting, then we need to go on the day and vote. Their backs need to be broken. There's no more need to talk with these people. They cannot be reasoned with. They are trying to preserve something that was a fantasy to begin with, and now they're desperate. So, Tricia Cotham, thank you for signaling to the rest of us that there's really no need to talk to you. Your political back must be broken now, and it's be broken by organizing, by registering, by putting people together, and on the days that they are still available to vote, by voting, by mobilizing voters. That's the only way you're going to defeat these white nationalists at this time, because they cannot be reasoned with. They must be utterly opposed.
Absolutely, Reese. And again, for the people who are sitting here who keeps, I posted something today, Reese, on my Instagram page about last night's debate. And I mentioned climate change, and I said, listen to those answers. Your only choice is Biden Harris. I had several fools. Oh, I might sit this one out. I can't believe you're forcing him on us. Oh, he's too old. And I'm sitting there going, are y'all stupid? I mean, I said, let me be clear. These people, what they have in store for black people and for other people, if they win, you can forget the first 4 years. They're going to rain holy hell, but you still have these stuck-on stupid people who are acting as if this is really no big deal.
Yeah, because people are dumb as shit. And they think that it sounds cool to be like, yeah, I ain't voting, whatever. The people that were hooting and hollering every time the Republicans were slugging it out on the stage, all of those people are voting, regardless of who the person is. It ain't no, oh, you forcing this person on me, you're forcing that person on me. They gonna vote because they want our asses to be locked up, to be on the fields, picking cotton all over again. Not being full citizens in this country, women being forced to give birth. And so if that's not something that concerns you, then yeah, sit your dumb ass at home and vote, and don't vote and just sit up there and complain on the internet because you ain't got the all this shit, this laundry list of shit that the Republicans are not offering up on a platter for you. Nobody heard any kind of policy prescriptions for anything that's going on last night. All they heard was anti-trans talk, pro-Trump talk, and a bunch of lies from the Republican Party. And so if you don't think it's that serious, step aside, but can you do us a favor and shut the fuck up too? Can you do that? Because if you can do that, then I'll take y'all non-voting ass. You can just shut up in the process.
Candace, Donald Trump's motorcade is approaching the courthouse. He'll be emerging soon, and he will be processed. So this is a live feed right here as his motorcade is pulling into the facility there, where all of most of the other people who have been indicted have already been processed. To my knowledge, Candace, have you been keeping Trevion Cooney, the other African American? I don't believe she has turned herself in yet. Correct?
Correct. To my knowledge, that's the same page that I'm on. And as we see from the video, almost like a play that's beginning to start, 7:30, he is rolling in this process where, as you said, we will see that picture. I know that typically it has taken all of the others who have turned themselves in about 60 minutes to even 90 minutes to go through this process. So once this begins, we're going to be looking at this to at least 9 o'clock. Of him being on the hot seat to see what actually happens as this continues to unfold, Roland.
And so again, folks, the facility that they are going to, is that the actual Fulton County Jail? All right.
You know what?
So again, folks, go ahead, Candace. Go ahead.
You know what? I am not sure. I'm just going to jump in and say that. I believe it is. I believe it is.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the Fulton County Jail where the Trump motorcade just came in. This is a live look here in terms of, Trump. Fourth time he's been indicted. You saw all of the police cars and all of those folks there coming in. His plane landed at Hartfield Jackson. Well, I call it Jackson Hartfield. And of course, the motorcade came down to, you know what? They should have made his ass wait in Atlanta traffic. This they should have done. They should have made his ass wait in Atlanta traffic and sit on that damn highway like the rest of us have to do. That's what they should have done, Reese.
Yeah, because, you know, we're going regular. If we're giving you N-word wake-up calls, then let's commit. Let's commit to the whole situation. But I don't know. I think people in Atlanta have been through enough. I don't know if they want to be bothered with it, even to prove a point to Donald Funky ass Trump. Go ahead and let him speed on through because he's going to take his time in that doggone processing room. He's going to come out like the common criminal that he is.
Yeah.
And, you know, Roland, if I can, I know that when...
Go ahead.
And just you know, when we talk about where he's turning himself in as opposed to on a federal level, it is a very different process. Once you go into a jail that is like this, we know that it is no easy ride, even just to walk through there, present yourself like you are somebody in a situation where you have criminals in a jail that is not pretty. You have criminals in a jail that is something that you do not want to be a part of. This is nothing like the federal process. You know, we saw the women who were carrying the papers from point A to point B and getting them signed very gingerly and making all of that come together. This is a much different process. Not only is it a much different process in terms of how the jail looks and feels and the potential of what he could be in, but it's going to take much longer than the other federal level processes that he's gone to, because over there he didn't get weighed, he didn't get his picture taken. So this is something that he may not have encountered that Atlanta traffic, but he's certainly going to spend a much longer time here than he has when he turned himself in the other cases.
Again, I got no problem at all with him. Now remember, Greg, this is the same jail where the brother died of those bed bugs, all those insect bites, whatever. And they've had some significant issues in this particular jail. They've had some problems there, and so, hey, make them take that tie off, put them in a holding cell. Again, hey. Look, again, as they said, you're going to get treated like everybody else get treated who get processed. And so that's right. And he needs to go through all of this. Absolutely. I totally disagreed in Manhattan and even the federal court where they gave him a special dispensation. That's why I love the sister in D.C. who did not call him President Trump, because I ain't never called him that. She called him Mr. Trump. Hell, I ain't calling him Mr. Trump.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Roland, looking at these images and just sitting here, there's an aesthetic dimension to this. There is the visual. I mean, this is not a nation. I say that often because it doesn't have a single culture. It's a settler colony, a settler state with a lot of different people in it. And looking at these officers, many of whom are of African descent, with their kind of quasi-militaristic police stance, hands in their, vests at the top there, or arms crossed, jacketed up. This isn't New York. This isn't the federal government here in D.C. This is behind the Cotton Curtain. And this is a state where white terror, which is almost redundant to say white terror, has been reigning on African people since Oglethorpe tried to settle that colony called Georgia, the prison colony of the 13. And to see people of African descent basically be the jailers, the prosecutors of Donald Trump, who is the avatar of white nationalism. I'm talking about not just the hard MAGA white nationalists, but all the soft white nationalists, like the young boys and girls who were sitting in the galleys during the oral arguments for SFFA versus Harvard and North Carolina, and who were joking, saying that if these black students can't get into Harvard, perhaps they should go to a stupider school or a dumber school. And I know that because, I had students who were sitting there who heard these people saying that. They would not vote for Donald Trump, but he is their avatar too. And what we're faced with in this country is a moment, quite frankly, that we have not seen before. This isn't the 19th century. This isn't the early 20th century. This isn't even the 1960s or 70s. This is a black city with a black prosecutor and black police getting ready to treat the avatar of white nationalism like the N-word. Perhaps his friend who is sitting in lockup should make sure that he gets one of those T-shirts so he can be for himself. But I'll end with this. The imagery that we are looking at now, it wouldn't have been as effective if it were Alvin Bragg or Smith in Washington. These are black people getting ready to treat this white man the way we have been treated all along, and it's in Georgia, one of the heartlands of the Klan and the old Confederacy. There's something very powerful about that kind of imagery, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Control room, do me a favor, pull that tweet up I just sent y'all. The Biden campaign not wasting any time on this here, Candace. They sent out this tweet it's literally moments ago. It says, if y'all have it, can y'all go ahead and pull it up? It goes, it's the Joe Biden handle on Twitter. Says, apropos of nothing, I think today is a great day to give to my campaign. I saw. I'll give Michael. I'm gonna text chat with Michael with a bunch of black journalists. Michael Harriet tweeted. He said they should have tweeted about bail reform.
It's good that Joe Biden is jumping in quickly the way that he should, because obviously a lot of people have a lot of inhibitions about the way that the president responds to things. I mean, when we think about Maui, when we think about his age, when we think about people just not really having confidence in him, it's good to see that he jumped in where he could right now. But I also think that it's something that he's looking to, like, as a campaign strategy. He's looking at this as a campaign strategy as much as Trump is looking at this as a campaign strategy. What do we do with Trump? What do we do with his picture? What do we do with the fact that this is a man who's rendering himself into something where he may go actually down? This is a man who is actually going to potentially be in jail and serve time. So, I mean, more power to Joe for being on top of it, but it's certainly something that he would have to comment on at this time. This is history in the making, as it has been the other 3 times, Roland.
Can I say, Roland, I think if the Biden team were smart, they would be selling But Her Emails mugs right now because there's still a very large legion of very disgruntled Hillary supporters who are looking at this moment. She was on air when he was indicted, chuckling her ass off, which I ain't mad at her. I think if you're going to capitalize off of it, I think Hillary is the way to go. But Her Emails.
All right, folks, I'm going to go to a final break before we come back. We're going to continue to monitor what's happening there in Fulton County. We also going to tell you about what happened in court today dealing with the congressional district lines that were redrawn by Governor Ron DeSantis. And we might talk a little bit more about that farce of a debate last night in Milwaukee, the first Republican debate of the campaign season. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Be sure to, of course, hit that like button if you're watching on YouTube. Support us as well by contributing to our Bring the Funk fan club. Send your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $ RM Unfiltered, PayPal, or Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available at bookstores nationwide. Download the audio version on Audible. Get your copy from Barnes & Noble, from Amazon, Target, Books A Million. We'll be back in a moment.
Barbershop in a 700 credit score neighborhood, black or white. They're talking about their ideas and they're talking about how they're going to move on those things. You go to a barbershop at a 500 credit score, equal brilliance, but bad culture, they're talking about other people. You go to a winner's barbershop, here's what I'm doing. You go to the barbershop of where people feel defeated, they talk about other people, either celebrities or people they admire, but also often, I don't like Joe. I don't like Roland Martin. Well, let me tell you something. I don't understand people. How could you not like anything here you see? You should just be like, this is amazing. It's cool. You may not even like how he does it or how I do it, but it's like, you know what? They're succeeding. They're killing it. All you should be is, that's fantastic. But if I don't like me, I'm not going to like you. If I don't feel good about me, it's hard for me to feel good about you. If I don't respect me, don't expect me to respect you. If I don't love me, I don't have a clue how to love you. And here's the big one. If I don't have a purpose in my life, I'm going to make your life a living hell.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, have you ever had that $1 million idea and wondered how you could make it a reality? On the next Get Wealthy, you're going to meet Liska Askalise, the inventress, someone who made her own idea a reality and now is showing others how they can do it too.
Positive, focusing in on the thing that you want to do, writing it down, and not speaking to naysayers or anybody about your product until you've taken some steps to at least execute.
Liska Askalise on the next Get Wealthy, right here, only on Black Star Network.
Hi, I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. I don't play Sammy, but I could. Or I don't play Obama, but I could. I don't do Stallone, but I could do all that. And I am here with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered. We're monitoring the live feed outside of the Fulton County Jail where Donald Trump has turned himself in. He is being processed, and we'll be awaiting his mug shot to be released by Fulton County authorities. Let's talk about what happened in Florida today, where judges were scrutinizing the congressional maps there. Remember, Ron DeSantis completely blew off what the legislature drew his own maps and got rid of the congressional district of Black Democrat Al Lawson. Well, today, state lawyers conceded that to ensure that African Americans elected one of their own, the congressional district had to stretch from Jacksonville to Tallahassee. But they also argued that the district violates the U.S. Constitution's Equal Protection Clause and want them to uphold those boundaries. They're being challenged in court by Black Voters Matter, the League of Women Voters, Florida as well. And they say that the state was simply wrong to do so. This right here, again, Candace, is part of the battlefield, what's happening in the courtrooms. Mark Elias, Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, Transformative Justice Coalition, NAACP, LDF, LULAC, League of Women Voters, ACLU, all these different groups are battling it out in court because, again, Republicans want to get rid of Black representation. They want to guarantee themselves victories.
But what's happening is that the courts are recognizing that when you look at the law, when you look at the Equal Protection Clause, that you have to carry it out to the letter of the law. How are people being equally protected when they don't have equal representation, which is why these types of laws have become such as a stickler and been magnified across the country, as you have said, and why people are fighting it and winning it, and justifiably so. You know, I think one of the things that we see with Ron DeSantis, and I noticed this last night in the debate, is that there are so many things that he is carrying out, just like this, just like, you know, critical race theory, things that continue to marginalize people of color in the BIPOC community. When we look at DeSantis, what I realized last night, though, when I saw him, was that he really does not seem to have a plan in order to go even further for what he has seeming to set out to do. In other words, last night we looked for him to be the centerpiece of the action because of things like this, because of these types of suppression efforts in terms of representation. But what I saw last night was someone who was not going to be someone who is prepared to take the seat as a president. He had canned answers. He wasn't the center of attention as people thought he was. And I got the sense when I was watching it that the headlines that we see, like the ones that we're talking about right now, are really outshining him. When it came time for him to stand up and rise and represent and be this person that we saw in the headlines, he had a lackluster performance. He was someone who didn't even answer a lot of the questions. And even the Fox host said the same. You are not answering the questions. Most of his cancers were canned off of the old campaign trail. He seems to be talking the same type of thing, which means he's going to continue to do the same type of thing that we're talking about. And that is try to make redistricting efforts so that Black people do not have representation. But at the end of the day, he is not the person that people are going to be voting for based upon last night's performance.
What's amazing to me, Greg, is that these Republicans in Florida are trying to argue that the use of race for the congressional district violates the Equal Protection Clause, when the Equal Protection Clause was a Reconstruction amendment that was used to prevent states from discriminating against Black people. It's just like Ed Bloom's lawsuit. They're trying to use the 1866 Civil Rights Act now against Black people. It's how crazy people are.
Well, sure, but we know, of course, that the 50-year, well, now more than 50-year fight to weaponize or re-weaponize the Civil War amendments and the legislation that has come from them, whether it be the Civil Rights Act of 1866, the use of particularly the 14th and 15th Amendments to promote this question of this ideology of colorblind constitutionalism. It's been used in the exact opposite way that it was intended. And we know that in 2010, approximately 63% of Florida voters approved this something called the Fair Districts Amendments. And they put in place rules to ensure that voting maps wouldn't intentionally be drawn into favor of a particular political party or diminish minority, for lack of a better term, voting power in the state. And we know that that was the ruling in 2015. The Florida Supreme Court enforced those amendments, struck down a legislative map, and ordered the legislature to adopt the former 5th Congressional District. Now, of course, now that same court is packed with DeSantis appointees, so we might not see the same outcome. However, and finally, just as was the case in Alabama with the voting rights case, just as what we're seeing in Louisiana, there is a parallel federal case that is going to wind its way through the courts. They're prepared to go to trial in September in that federal case. And what's at stake is the meaning and interpretation of those Civil War amendments and pursuant legislation. So not just the state constitution in Florida and not just an amendment that 63% of the voters in Florida adopted to ensure that this district remain in place, among other things. So again, it all comes down to the courts. And what have you been saying for many years now, Roland, particularly at this last election cycle? It isn't just about who you vote in the legislative and the executive branch. It's about the judges.
Mm-hmm.
No, absolutely. Donald Trump has been officially booked into the Fulton County Jail. They list him, Reese, he has 6'3", 215 pounds. Maybe he wrote that in. So we're waiting the booking photo as well. The point I'm making here about what happened there in Florida, again, we see exactly what's going on here. They're trying to use laws that were enacted to help black people now want to use them against black people.
Right. Yeah, because they don't want black people to have anything. And so what they want to do is they want to actually punish black people or people who are advocating for black people with even trying to make the attempt. We know that black people, for instance, what they're doing to try to sue black venture capitalists. We know that black people are underrepresented in just about every single field you could think of in terms that's other than prison. But, you know, they know that we are already underrepresented. They know that we're underfunded. We're under everything, but that's too much for them because they want us to have literally jack shit. And so what they're doing is they're being creative. They're not dissatisfied with rolling things back to what the status quo is. They want to go take us back to a place damn near where we're back in chains and picking cotton. And so what Ron DeSantis has done, he's not a good campaigner. I don't think he's even a good politician. But what he has done is he has enacted his agenda. He said, who gonna check me, boo? And he's gotten things through that is even more extreme than his Republican legislature. And so as long as there's a Republican supermajority in terms of the Supreme Court there, the Supreme Court of the United States, then everything is on the table. And that's why we really need to be very concerned about these kind of cases.
We were going to talk about what happened last night in the GOP debate in Milwaukee. I don't really care. Vivek sounded like an idiot last night, not even remotely ready for prime time or even daytime. Chris Christie whined and complained all day today about the moderators, even though he got the second most time talking last night. Mike Pence stood there and was hoping everybody was just crown him as the next best thing to slice bread. Nikki Haley, of course, was just whining. I don't know what the hell Elmer Fudd, I'm sorry, Sarah and Tim Scott was talking about. And, of course, Asa Hutchinson, he ain't got no shot. The dude from North Dakota, he ain't got a shot as well. What I did hear was a whole bunch of lying last night, talking about, how awful, how bad the country is, you name all sort of stuff. Man, please, we heard a whole bunch of crap. To the control room. Is this a live video here? All right, folks, so it looks like Donald Trump has been processed and his motorcade is now leaving the Fulton County Jail, making their way back to Atlanta's Jackson Hartsfield Airport. And so that processing took place in less than about 20 minutes. They've already dropped, so the booking sheet has already been dropped. According to the booking sheet, Donald Trump's booking number is 2313827. He was booked again. They say he's already been released. They list him as 6'3", 215 pounds, blonde or strawberry. When they got hair, blonde or strawberry blue. I ain't never seen strawberry blue. What the hell is that? They list all of the different accounts, the charges as well against him, and so that is the case. And so he's now headed back to the airport. I'm sure I'm sure. Well, maybe he's going to Magic City. I'm not quite sure. He could be going to the airport. Maybe he's going to swing by Magic City and get some of those Lou Williams lemon pepper wings. I'm not quite sure. So that is it, folks. As Candace said earlier, probably be another hour and a half before the booking photo is going to be released. Knowing this demonic individual, he smiled in his photo, and so we can't wait to see it. So, maybe we'll get that put on a T-shirt as well. Right next to the folding chair. Maybe the folding chair on one side and Trump on the other. We'll see. That's it for me, y'all. Listen, I got to catch this flight. Candace, Reese, Greg, I certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Folks, we're going to have more tomorrow. I'm back in the studio tomorrow. Roland Martin Unfiltered. Don't forget, folks, support us in what we do. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. You can also join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible to do what we do. Please send your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available at bookstores nationwide, Barnes & Noble, Target, Books A Million. Get it on Amazon. fun. Download the audio version on Audible as well. And shout out to the Business Council in Milwaukee. It was great chatting with y'all today. If y'all missed the fireside chat, go to our YouTube channel or the Black Star Network app. You can actually see it. With a great conversation there. I appreciate all the folks who also got the book as well. Folks, that is it. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Holla!
Hold no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?